I'm Dave, here with Kurt at Gamescom 2024, and I want to find out if Kurt was wowed by Avowed.
Actually, wowed, I was. I actually really enjoyed it. I had about 45 minutes to an hour with it, and basically, Avowed is Obsidian's kind of attempt at doing a first-person action RPG, fantasy RPG specifically. Obsidian's done a wider range of things, especially in recent years, between Grounded and Pentiment, and then of course Outer Worlds. This feels like a very cool natural progression and attempt at taking a formula that could be tried and true, especially with the Elder Scrolls games, but giving it that Obsidian sprinkle, if that's a thing, little mist. Magic? There we go. We'll go with magic.
But it seems like as Obsidian has tried out different projects, they're getting better and better at showcasing the Obsidian-ness in their games.
I think when you hear Obsidian, you probably think of writing and paths and storytelling and stuff like that. But what I feel like they're getting to a point at with some of the recent games is actually honing into a gameplay loop that they usually wouldn't do. And I feel like this game, in a lot of ways, is actually offering solutions to certain gameplay styles that I don't think other RPGs have really offered in what they do, especially first-person action, especially with magic and stuff.
Yeah, the way you described the mage class specifically was really interesting. So it's not quite like you said, the normal sort of first-person mage experience that a lot of other games have offered over the past few years.
When I think of for me, the most connective tissue is I think of Skyrim or an Elder Scrolls game and how you would play a magic character or warlock. And when I think of that, I just think of hands out, just stuff exploding from your hands, and you're literally just running backwards while you're just shooting magic at something. But Avowed adds you have a wand, which doesn't feel you would think it wouldn't feel so cool just shooting little lightning bolts like a little wizard guy. But the thing that it does really well is it offers a shit ton of tools that really change it up, that make you feel like you're not just blasting your hands or shooting someone with a wand, because basically you get a book and your wand, and each book has a different set of spells. So you have your set spells as a mage class, but then if you decide, you can have two books on you. So one book would have the ability to materialize melee weapons, and you can use that in magic, and it changes the entire dynamic of how you're in a fight. Meanwhile, you can root something in the ground, beat the shit out of it with a club, or you can create an ice pond and start shooting flames from your hands at the exact same time. It added a lot of diversity. And then there's also a dodge mechanic. And when you're playing as a mage, it's very much a crowd control sort of thing.
Is it too much to say it's sort of like how Doom treats guns?
Honestly, I mean, it is kind of this, as somebody who used to play World of Warcraft, it's a balance between the two. You have your rotation of attacks that you would use in WoW, but then you have actual real-time combat. So no, I would say you're in the right line of thinking in a way, where it's you can dodge, you have your ice sprinkles, official name of what they're called. You can root a dude in the ground, and then you can shoot lightning at him, or you can make your little hammer, mallet, staff, and wiggle and beat things up, which is great. But that isn't the only class I played. I also played the Ranger class, which is something that is not usually seen in these games, where you're dual-wielding pistols and a bow and arrow, and that also played completely differently than the mage. So if you're a gunslinger, each gun had its own special ability. And there's no ammo, which I thought was interesting. No ammo, no reload, because every time you shoot, the gun goes down. Apparently that's the character's slipping a pellet in.
Okay.
And then you shoot the other gun, you can get in a really good rotation.
So again, using fantasy hallmark weapons,
Yes.
but dialing up the action and the immediacy of the combat, making it feel much more rapid and immediate.
Yes, and also it's there's versatility in the movement. So that even means jumping and climbing up onto ledges and stuff. And there was a lot of running and jumping in what I had played. But it still also had the Obsidianisms by way of its writing, which was genuinely, in that very short slice I played, quite funny. In particular, there was a dude that I came across who was bleeding out, and I could choose to give him a potion. But his reason for helping him was he's I'm a virgin. Please, I don't want to die this way. And so I chose to give him a potion and help him out. And then in return, of course, he led me to a different path on the quest.
Did you see the alternate version of what happened?
It's great. So
you let the guy die?
Well, so not on purpose. That's the thing I really...
That's what they all say.
No. This is actually what I really dug. It's like, the more the second time around, I decided to like, just not immediately heal him and see where it would go. But the more he talks, the more he's bleeding out and dying. And just mid-conversation, he just died right in front of me. And then my companion, Kai, was just like, oh, all right, I guess we got to figure this out on our own. And then, took us down a similar path, but still like a completely different sort of experience.
Because usually if you're in a traditional RPG, you might find someone who's bleeding out.
Yeah.
Oh, I need a potion. And you can go away for an hour to find the potion and then come back.
Yes.
But again, it seems like that it's another element that seems to be playing on a new feeling of immediacy.
Yes.
Like even within the writing of the quest, you need to make a decision now. You need to cast this spell now. You need to heal them now, or it's done. It's like making you think quicker and more rapidly, and not having the quests.
Everything, it felt very organic, and like I think that's like in a post Baldur's Gate 3 sort of like moment. Where I feel like everyone has a microscope on like how people are doing like RPGs and choose your own adventure style things. This was like a really neat way in which like I did not expect that to happen. I didn't expect it to die right in front of me. Be like, oh, well, okay, I guess I have to continue on my quest without this thing or without this help. And I saw like glimpses of that just in like, because I played a little bit as a mage and I switched over to do the ranger, and I was able to see like the diversity of Obsidian storytelling, and like it's like quips and comedy like on full center.
Obsidian won't be able to get away from comparisons like, oh, is this Obsidian Skyrim? We saw the same thing with Outer Worlds and Obsidian's Fallout, or, continuation of that sort of storytelling. But do you think Avowed is, how much is that doing to really separate itself from these preconceptions?
I think it's like one of those things that like the moment you play it, you will feel it and see it. Like, for example, even going back to like the Virgin who died, like, There is a place in which Elder Scrolls could have something like that exist, but I can't recall an experience in the hundreds of hours I've played in any Elder Scrolls game where like that sense of immediacy and agency was really there. It would be narrowed down to a choice: either you heal him or you don't, and that's it. But even then, it's like this game is like a very strange blend of like fantasy, but also like pirate elements, because you have like muskets and such, but there's also like these group of characters that look like knights. So like there's a hodgepodge of like different elements and aesthetics going into play that I think will like instantly separate this and give it an identity its own. I don't think it'll be impossible for people to have comparisons, because you need something to pull from. But I think it'll be like it's just a very good, refreshing, from what I played, refreshing sort of like take on a genre that I love. And it feels like, again, like solutions are being given in ways that feel like fresh and cool. So it has an identity. And besides, I love the Elder Scrolls games. I think there's really good writing in those games, but the Obsidian flair, that team is so good at like evoking personality, and like every line, and like even like the way characters move is just their facial expressions and stuff, is kind of unmatched in my opinion, or at least just so distinct to what Obsidian does and has always done really well. I mean, for God's sakes, it's like Obsidian has people there who are responsible for these genres sort of like coming into form in a video game medium.
And hey, it sounds like it's a big pie to, let...
Yeah.
That was a terrible analogy. It sounds worth the wait. I'm excited. I've stalked you.
Sounds like sounds like a big pie. It's not a berry.
Yeah, it's a big delicious pie. I was going to try and say something about letting it cook, but it fell apart. But if you want to see content that isn't falling apart, stay tuned for GameSpot.